The following is a conversation with Raymond Johnston, partner at Right Hook Digital, running PPC ads, Meta, TikTok, and even doing follow-up via email and text message. Now, running an agency is much more than just clicking run ad. He's saying that conversations, team management, and systems building is of utmost importance. So if you're thinking of wanting to start a creative agency or you're trying to grow yours, you're definitely going to want to check out this interview. If you're curious more about Ray, you can check out his information in the description of this video. So I'm here with Ray, and he is a partner of Right Hook Digital. They do all kinds of marketing in the space, specifically PPC, Meta, TikTok, and retention, which is like email and SMS. So Ray, how the heck did you get to where you are? Because it's a lot of hacking.
Man, it's actually funny because me and you've known each other for so long. You may actually really enjoy this backstory. So how I got started doing what I was doing is I was literally working for an e-commerce business that you and I know of. I was working for them, and I'll never forget, I made them $1 million. And I was like, hey, I would like a $2 an hour raise. Just $2 an hour. That's all I asked for, $2 an hour. And they turned me down. And I was like, well, this sucks, right? Because I learned everything myself. I incorporated everything myself. And so that's really like, that was the paradigm shift that got me started. Of, you know what, maybe I need to find something else that I feel like I can not only have upside, but I feel like I can actually do more, because there was a lot of caps on what I was doing at the time. And so honestly, from there, I literally the next day put an application on Upwork. And I just started applying to people that were posting jobs. That's how I got started. I'll never forget. It was a brand that that applied, and like, do you know these things? And I was like, I know most of what the application was for, but there was like 2 things I didn't know. But I was like, you know what? I can figure it out. So I spent the whole weekend. I YouTubed everything.
Nice.
I spent like 20 hours YouTubing it, and I had to send like a video introduction showing that I can do those certain tasks. And I got the job on that Monday. So like that was kind of the journey. I freelanced for a long time. And then after that, what really changed things for me is I joined an agency accelerator program, which I'm a huge fan of getting coaching, because like it is the ultimate hack.
Okay.
I joined an agency accelerator program, and like from there, it just blew up from there.
The agency accelerator program, what were the main takeaways that accelerated what you were doing?
Sure. So at the time, I was just hustling, just freelancing up Upwork jobs. But I think what I was really lacking was a few areas. The first one was sales. I was so bad at sales. And I'll never forget, they had a sales coach in that program told me, he's like, dude, you're really bad at sales. so I already knew that, but thank you for that kick in the nuts, right? So I already knew that. And so it was sales, it was structure, business model was a big part of it. And then also fulfilling, like how do you add more structure to actually your product or fulfill? So for you, it's like your systems of how do I maintain my channel, film my videos, make my content, my scripts. So it's like the structure behind it. So it's almost like a really good starter blueprint to help put all the missing pieces together.
Okay, so I got a question on organization, but first let's go back to sales. Why did you suck at sales, and what was the difference? What were you doing wrong? What did you need to do right?
That's a great question. Honestly, the big part of it was this didn't have a blueprint, a best known way. So as you can imagine, one of the bad things about sales is you talk more than the prospect, or talk more than the person you're talking to. And I just didn't know some of these principles. I never researched it. I never learned it. I didn't have that blueprint. So for me, it was just putting in the boundaries of, okay, here is a proven way. Follow this proven way and you'll get this output. And I was missing that. I was just kind of figuring out myself. And a lot of times I find people who are, no matter where they're at in their journey, when they're trying to reach that next level, that next thing, that next carrot they're chasing, the hard part is just trying to figure everything out yourself when you don't know the principles, you don't know the secrets, you don't have the experience. And a lot of times it's like finding, whether that's a coach or a program, things that just give you the blueprint so you like can eliminate that noise and just focus on this will work. I'm just going to follow this plan.
Yeah. So when you say you were talking too much, why is that a problem, talking too much in sales?
Oh, that's a great question. The real reason why is you want them to reveal where they're at, their mindset, their motivations, their why. And probably the why, that's also the screen behind me, the picture behind me, is revealing the why is crucially important, because until you actually know the root cause of someone's why they're talking to you, why they want to work with your agency, you're not going to actually be able to tell, one, can I help them? Number two, how does my product really solve their pain? And that's the big part. Is like when they talk more, they reveal their cards and reveal their pain and their why. And it makes it easy for you to say, this is the solution for you, and this is the reason why. And then it also matches their why.
So in essence, they're giving you the ammunition to fire at the target of their ultimate sale. Like when you
That's
sell
exactly
them,
it.
it's because they've told you how to sell them.
That's exactly it.
Okay. That makes sense. So you then talked about organization. How is organizing an ad agency important, or be going from freelancer to agency? What is there to organize?
So it's all about systems. The model of an agency is your people are your product, and so are your systems. So for example, it's the how do I sell? How do I onboard? How do I fulfill? How do I get invoices, accept payment? How do I send them reports? How do I grow them? How do I offboard them? Like, it's all systems. And when it's just you can kind of just hustle and grind your way there. But when you actually have a team, it has to be, this is the way that we're going to do it. Because if it's not, it's just going to be people running around with like on fire, trying to fix everything and do everything. And then you don't want that, because we've done that before, because we made that mistake. So it's everything is the systems. And so it's document the systems. This is the way that we do it, because this is something that we live by is that if you have systems documented, then you manage the systems, not the people, because the systems is what manages the people. And so what that means is, so for example, if someone's not doing something right, go to the system. Is there something broken in the system, right? And it makes it very clear, is it a people issue or a system issue?
Then you're not fixing individual people, you're fixing the system, which then could fix multiple people.
You still have to fix people sometimes. Like if they're not following the system, that's a people problem.
Okay.
But if they are following the system and things still aren't happening the way you expect or you want, then it's a system problem. So it makes it very clear what the problem is versus it's a problem. What do we do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it helps you identify quicker the root cause of issues as well.
Correct.
So you're not spent time chasing your tail trying to figure out why something's not going
and
the
it's
right
scalable
way.
too. The third part is when you have the systems, it makes it scalable. So for example, for you, like if you had all your systems documented and you hire another team member, they follow your system, right? Yeah. And so it's like the downloading of Ray's brain and Ben's brain into the system, this way of doing it, and it makes it scalable. I'm not in accounts anymore because we have the systems that our team follows. And so now if we want to evolve or innovate, we innovate the system, and then that innovates all the people that actually do it.
So hopefully we're not getting too far ahead. Whenever you're testing out new strategies, are you in essence just coming up with the idea and then writing a document into the system and then they test the idea? Or like, how does that work?
It's a great question. It's, for the most part, it's a lot of autonomy with our team that does it, because it goes into, we've hired the right people who are experienced, that have this knowledge, have this expertise. And so for the most part, they are coming up with the strategies one-on-one with their e-commerce brands, because that's what we manage. We manage e-commerce brands. There are instances where there's a strategy that me and my other team leads, we want them to test. And then that is like a document and structure of how we want them to test it. But for the most part, the team that we've hired they're very competent. They follow the systems, but they're the right people for the right seat. And so what that means is that they are, for the most part, better than we are. And that's when you know you've done something right. If you've hired someone who's better than you at that craft, that's when you know you've really hired the right person, because they can take it for you and take it further than you could.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. So when it comes to hiring, what was kind of the most difficult part of that initial step, going from you running the ads to bringing somebody in?
Yeah, it's going to be clearly knowing what you want that person to do. And I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. Hiring someone, there wasn't clear definitions of what they were going to be doing. I wasn't even clear what I needed really from that person. So until you're clear what you need from those people and what that definition, what that success looks like, more than likely, you're probably not ready to hire that person, because you'll hire someone and the next thing you know, it's they're waiting on you. You're hoping they do these things, but it hasn't been communicated. So I think that's the first definition, is like, be really clear on what you want them to do, what are the specific tasks, what are the specific things you want them to own, responsibilities, what does that job look like, what's the definition of success. If you have your systems documented, that's even better, so they can jump right in and start following that system. Like, I would say that's the most critical part when you hire your first person, because if you don't do that, what it's going to do is it's actually going to be more of a drain on you, because now you have yourself to be responsible for and that other person. And that person's like, what do you want me to do? And you're like, I don't know, just do stuff, right? You want to be clear what exactly you want them to do.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a point where you can actually hire too early because you haven't
Absolutely.
even defined a need. You're just like, oh, I should hire because I need to build a business.
Yeah, and so I was actually there's actually a couple few agencies that I coach who are actually going through the same thing where they're growing very quickly, and they had the same question with me, and they said, "Hey, are we ready to hire?" And I was like, "Well, do you have systems documented? If you don't hire yet. Number two, do you have a trigger in place? Is that a profitability trigger, a revenue trigger? When does it make the right sense to hire that person? Because what you don't want to do is, I want to grow this business, so I'm going to hire, but then you don't have either the runway in terms of the profit in the bank to pay for that person for 3 months until they start making you money, or you don't have, hey, once I make this much amount of money a month, it covers my tab plus that other person's tab. And so you don't want to get in the negative too early. So that's why, and you can also start with part-time people, but just understand what's the criteria where it makes sense for me to hire. Is that a revenue number, a profit number, a systems documented thing?
Okay, that makes sense. What you said, you mentioned trigger. What do you mean by trigger? Like, if I hire this person, they will get this result, or this money will grow?
Great question. So what I meant by that is, so let's say right now I'm running a business, I'm making 15K a month from that business, whatever that number is. And like, I want to hire someone because I don't want to do all these tasks. That you have to pay them some money. So either one, am I willing to pay myself less, 12K a month or 10K a month for this part-time or full-time hire, and I'll give them some of my salary? Or do I need to kind of just suck it up, get to 20K a month, and then I could pay them that difference and pay them 5 and I take home 15? Like, you have to have some kind of trigger, like, and understand, am I willing to give up my money I pay myself, or do I need to make just a little bit more that I can then pay a part-time person and still keep what I want? So that's what I mean by what is that trigger where it makes sense? Because what you don't want to do is, I need to hire, I have $8,000 a month in expenses, but now that I pay this person, I'm making $7,000 a month or $5,000 a month. And you're like, crap, I'm making even less money than I had before, and I hire this other person. You just don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah, so you want the upside to be much clearer, ready to go.
Just define it. That's all I say. Just define it, because then you'll know what steps you have to do to get to that point.
That makes sense. So you're on your journey now. We're talking through freelancing, going through this agency accelerator program. Where did you go from there? Did you hire somebody before you ended up becoming a partner at Right Hook?
Yeah. So when it was just me, even through the agency accelerator program, I hired a bunch of contractors at that time. And then I hired one employee. So his name is Luke Bradley. He's actually still with me today.
Cool.
He's actually one of our team leads. And so me and him, we slung it for a while, running accounts for brands. And then I became friends with my current partners, Scott and Dee. And after that friendship, we said, hey, we think this may make sense for us to, it's a merge, but it's technically acquire hired, where they acquired my book of business as well as me and Luke, the employee that I had. And that's when we started Right Hook. And so Right Hook, that's been almost 5 years now since we did it. Cool. It's been a long time. And from then we've grown to 60 brands that we manage, almost 90 people that work for our agency as well. So it's a very big operation now.
That's amazing. And your role specifically now is what?
So I am the head of client performance and relationships. Very simple ways of dumbing that down is, I am the throat to choke for all performance. That is
You're the high fiver and the I'm going to kill you.
That is right. I am the guy who's responsible for all of it. So how you perform for clients, how our teams perform. Obviously, there's team leads underneath that, but that's a really simple way to explain it.
Okay, so you're not in the sales process.
So typically I'm not. I think when a high-end brand comes along, I'll jump in. And there's instances where I may jump in, whether that's a salesperson is out or we just need the extra support. So I am still involved in sales here and there, but it's not a big part of my day-to-day. Most of my job is building the business, frankly, or whether that's systems, hiring, different models. Like, that's a big part of my job now.
Okay. What is the key way to build an e-commerce marketing advertising agency from now where you're at moving upwards?
Oh, from where we're at, we want to get from here. So is your question, how does anyone start it, or how do I get to the next level for our agency?
Let's go with starting it, because I'm curious, and then we'll move upward. Where is Ray going?
That's a great question. So I love to tell this story. Back when I was coming up with the idea of agency, There was actually 6 different things I wanted to do. And I was like, what sounds like a fun gig, like a fun job? And so I wrote down like real estate investor and like real estate like a specialist. And I wrote down like a drone racer. That sounded pretty fun.
That does sound cool.
I wrote down like agency, and I wrote down like these 6 things that I put them on this like cork board, and I put like 3x5 cards written on. I was like, I don't know which of those is for me. And so I'm just going to try one at a time. So I would take the 3x5 card off, and I was like, I'm going to try this for like a couple months. And so I actually went through all those things, and I came to the last one around like freelancer and advertiser. I was like, why did I not start with this? Because I have that skill set. All these other things, I don't even have that skill set. So the reason why I'm telling that story is because start with something that you know. If you don't know anything about advertising, you can learn it. Just realize there's a long tail effect of learning that. There's a learning curve. But start with the skill set. So if you have a skill set, if you can run ads, if you can do email, if you can manage people's organic content, if you can make TikToks, whatever that is, that is a skill set a brand will pay you to do. So that's why I said start with a skill set. And if you don't have those skill sets and you don't know, but you want to do this, then take all those different skill sets, put them on a 3x5 card, post them somewhere. It's like, I'm going to try each one of these for 3 months. And what I will tell you is I can promise you, if you did that, one of those are going to be like, this is me. I love this. I'm really engaged by this. I get obsessive about it. Then that's typically the thing that you should keep doing to really master that skill set. So start there. And then once you have that skill set, then start hustling to find work. Either work for free, because you have a few ways. Can I work for free to get experience and proof that I'm good, that then I can go show other brands and that they're willing to pay me for it? Or can I work for such a cheap amount, same thing, to get the experience and get the results, and eventually I work my way up to charging more? Like that's typically the model most people go through. And I would recommend doing that same thing. And then eventually, and for example, there's a guy that I coach right now. He started like charging like $10 an hour. $10 an hour, that's crazy.
That is.
But he's worked his way up over the years to where now his minimum just to work with him is like $7,000 a month, just for one brand. So you can work your way there. Just understand it's not going to be a quick thing. It's a several year journey.
Oh, yeah.
But if you stay focused, you'll get there.
So would you say you should niche down very quickly so you can charge more because of your expertise, or should you go wide so you find what you like or what you're good at?
I recommend going wide. For example, when I first started, I was doing lead gen, I was doing e-commerce, many different things. And so I'm a huge believer in is don't chase the money, because that's always the wrong thing. Chase what you actually enjoy. So if you enjoy a particular type of business, then like focus on that. I didn't know I liked e-commerce. I had done e-commerce, but I didn't know that was what I really liked. So I tried many different things. And eventually I found my way back to like, no, e-commerce is my thing. It's what I love. So I'm going to stick with e-commerce. And so that's why I recommend other people, like start wide. That's why if you don't know what you want to do, just start tasting things 3 months at a time, right? Start wide, narrow it down. If you don't know what type of industry you want to work for, cool. Start wide, taste it.
Yeah.
And eventually be like, you know what? I like this. I don't like this. And then you're going to start to know yourself and what you're good at more.
Why did e-commerce stand out to you so much?
Yeah, I love a lot of different things. One, I like the scalability. It's a dopamine hit. Like it's probably an addiction is probably the better way of wording it. Like it kind of is an addiction. Like there's a great feeling of spending $30,000 a day in an ad account for a brand, and they're making it 1 to 2 million a month. Like it's a great feeling. You're like, oh my gosh, like it feels great. Yeah. It's a bit like if you've ever seen old videos of like the stock market on the stock floor in New York, where like people are yelling and they have these cards. Like it's kind of like organized chaos a little bit. Like and it's high pressure, high excitement. I think that's why a lot of people are in e-com, like they like that kind of stuff. They like the high pressure, the high excitement. So one, it's that there's a dopamine effect to it. The second thing is I love psychology. I love psychology of ads. I love psychology and copywriting. I love, for example, one of the best books that our team's actually going through again is Breakthrough Advertising. So I just came from a call with our team about it. I love the psychology of how you can take products, reposition them, get people to buy the product. And then also, like a lot of times, some of these products do change people's lives. And so I think it's a combination of all those factors. And I think just the e-commerce business model is very attractive because anyone can do it. There's such a low barrier to enter. Anyone in a weekend can create a Shopify store, create some ads, and you hit the ground running.
And so that creates the ability for anybody to go from nothing to something.
Absolutely.
How do you promote a product that doesn't change somebody's life?
So that's a really hard question. So is this a problem-solving product? Is this an impulse buy, or is it novelty? So problem-solving products typically, in my opinion, are much easier to sell because there's a very defined pain, right? So for example, let's take, technically even this book is a problem-solving product. This book is called Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. It talks about the different ways of selling and the psychology of how to sell a product, how to sell anything really. And the problem that a lot of people buy this is they're not getting enough sales. They're not getting any sales. Their business is dying. Their business is stagnant. Like all those pains that every business owner has ever had, this book solves. So it's very easy to pick any one of those pains and to agitate it and tell them why this is like a good solution for it. However, a product that is, let's say, a t-shirt, like if it's just a blank t-shirt, just a black t-shirt, that really doesn't solve a problem. Like it's not really a problem where someone's like, I'm cold, so I need to put a t-shirt on. That's really not a problem. So then that's more of an impulse buy. So that's where you have to rely on different tactics. So problem solving is much easier, whereas impulse buys, the tactics are very differently. So what I would say is, and this is what our team does, is you have to understand those two levers. So for example, we have a lot of fashion brands. It may not be solving a product. So a lot of the lever for the fashion brands is frankly around vanity.
Yeah, for sure.
It is around vanity. So that's where the imagery is important. That's where there's actually a principle in this book called identification. Are you personifying what the person they want to identify themselves as, so that now it's attracted to them? So those are kind of techniques.
What do you think? Again, they probably about sell the same, but maybe they don't. What sells faster? Problem or vanity?
Oh man, I honestly, there isn't a rule. There's a fashion brand we work with that sells dresses, and they'll do like $2 million in a day when they launch a drop, and it's dresses. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. They have such a cult following. That for those women, it's probably solving a problem, and that is they want how they feel. I want to feel like I've got the latest and greatest. I want to feel pretty. I want the latest print. So for them, like there's a need and like an obsession, really is a better word. Like they're obsessed. Like, wow, these women really like to buy dresses. But it just depends. Like, and there's other brands that we have that the problem it solves just, well, I'm going to use the word slams, and it crushes and it scales very, very quickly. So it really depends on a lot of factors on which one's better. I wouldn't say either one is better. It just depends on like, what is the product? Who is the person like that it identifies as? Who is the person that it's targeted to? But the one part is that each one of those in common, it's a mass appeal product. And that's important. It's like if I'm selling water bottles to keyboard warriors that are 45 and older, who also like a particular type of anime show, and the anime design is on the water bottle, like that's going to be hard to scale to $1 million a month unless the anime show is like super, super popular. So that's where there's some variables, like what's the total addressable market, that will limit your scale.
That makes sense. So you have to be reasonable with your expectations.
Sure. And like, it's so funny. Me and my friends laugh about this, that I think everyone gets a little delusional that they think like their idea is like, it's $1 billion business. I'm like, no, is it really though? I don't think it is, man. Like going from making $1,000 in a month to $1 billion, like that's such a vast difference. So sometimes like the reality is like some businesses will get capped unless you expand horizontally or vertically.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's your most like starstruck brand you've been able to work with so far?
Good question. Probably July Luggage and Mr. Zimmy. Mr. Zimmy is a dress brand.
Okay.
And then July Luggage, we worked with them for nearly 4 years. They're funded. They're now the Australian official luggage for their Olympic team. They're known all over the place. And
cool.
We were with them from day zero, like no money, day zero, to where they are now. And there's just the business owners, they're phenomenal business owners. Like they've done this before, so they have the right mindset. They have the right understanding. They got everything locked down. So for them, it's been a great brand to work with because it was a great relationship. They had their stuff together. They knew their path. They knew their vision. And then we were just more so, how can we elevate that on the ad side? And so it was a great partnership.
So you like learning a lot from them. It's like more of an actual partnership because they're communicating ideas, vision, and then you're helping execute and shape it from an ad standpoint.
I would say probably more so on them is because they had so much experience doing this before, because they had exited other businesses and they obviously had funding. They've gotten other series rounds of funding. They were just obsessive about product, obsessive about it, to where that really gave them the edge to scale, was because their product had uniquenesses to it. It was very defined and different in the marketplace. And I think because they were so obsessive about product, that's really what gave them the edge, frankly.
Cool. What happens when you get into an account for the first time that is an absolute dumpster fire?
Oh my goodness.
How do you fix a dumpster fire? Do you just like click like restart, or do you try and steer the ship of what they're currently doing?
Some dumpster fires cannot be fixed. That's just honest truth. So yeah, some dumpster fires, you can't fix it. And when a brand comes to us, and for example, we had a recent brand that it was a dumpster fire where the brand, we worked with them. They actually had some success, but they're doing like $200,000 or $300,000 in a month. They were like losing money, not making any money. And come to find out was because there was a dumpster fire with their business model in terms of like their products. So for example, again, they sold t-shirts, and they come to find out that their product margins didn't make sense, that they could not be profitable running ads selling those particular products. So now they're in the hard scenario to where we have to find, how can we make these products cheaper? Because they were making them in Canada. Do we need to make that in China where it's like a third of the cost? And so typically if a brand is a dumpster fire, it's either a few things. Number one, their business model there's something wrong with it, either in terms of their numbers, business numbers, like their product numbers, like how much are they making the product for? How much are they selling it for, which is their profit margin? Like there's an issue there. But the other issue is they have too many fixed costs with maybe they're spending $10,000 a month renting this space when they're not even making enough money to cover it. So it's that, or it's the product market fit as well. Like the product just sucks and it's the same product you can buy on AliExpress. And so there's many different factors. So typically if it's a dumpster fire, ads are not going to solve your problem. It's just going to make the dumpster fire worse.
Interesting. So when you approach a company, you're actually just looking at them saying, we got to fix something else. I can run the ads, but the ads will not save you.
It won't. And that's where for example, there's a brand that came to us recently where they were in the negative. They've been running ads. They had funding to keep paying for the money and to keep throwing the money away, but they're already losing 10% of their money a month. And we told them, I said, listen, like you have something fundamentally wrong with your business. And it's these 3 or 4 things. And we cannot run ads with you because it's just going to make the problem get worse. Like you cannot dig yourself out of a hole when the problem, it goes beyond what we see and what we're digging. It's like you have to address those issues because it's never going to get better. So that's where ads and mainly ads, we'll stick with ads, what it does is just it exaggerates either the good things or the bad things. It's an exaggeration tool. Like it'll either make things better or make things worse if one of those other key areas isn't sound. So that's where you have to address those things. Otherwise, it's not going to get any better.
So, okay, this is interesting because how do you communicate to clients they need you, and then come to find out they need something different, but you can still help them with it?
That's a great question. So how we promote ourselves, because at the end of the day, we're in the sick people business. Like that's how we consider ourselves. Sick businesses come to us for help. Now, there could be different sicknesses, right? A sickness could be, hey, I'm not making as much money as I thought I would. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at it and see what is the real problem. Or it's, hey, I don't know how to get buffer. I don't know how to make a bigger business. I'm kind of stuck at me and my brother working in my garage. Like, how do I make this business bigger? Okay, cool. We can identify solutions to do that. Or it's, hey, I just feel pain, but I don't know what the pain is. So like we're in the sick people business. So typically we want to help people, even if we can't work with them, because honestly, listen, I cannot take your money in good conscience because you got to fix this crap. We do have that conversation a lot. or it's, hey, we can fix it, and here is the plan to get there. So we always want to help people. So we pretty much, we'll let anyone come in, we'll almost do a review or an audit of that business and say, here are the problems. But then we may not work with them in an ongoing relationship because for whatever reason, they can't afford it. We don't think we should work with them because they need to fix these other issues. Or in this instances where it's the right pairing and the right relationship, then we do move on together. So it's just, we want to help everyone, man. And if you're running an agency or having an agency, you're in the sick people business. Like they're coming to you to fix a pain or a problem. And so we take that very strongly as a responsibility.
Which then goes back to sales is communication, not presentation.
Exactly.
So let's say a company comes to you. They want you to run ads because they think that is going to be the solution to the problem. You realize it's not the problem. You identify the problem. Let's say, for instance, this example you gave me, they need to bring the cost of their shirt down. They need to rent a smaller office space. Let's say those are their two main problems. Are you going to then consult with them through that process? Or are you going to say, come back when you got that figured out? Like, because you're kind of leaving opportunity on the table if you say, so how would you approach that?
So we do one or two ways. Either one, we do say fix it and come back, because it just depends on how much time is it going to take them to move warehouses, to negotiate with suppliers, or find a new supplier for that product. Like finding a new supplier could be like a 3-month ordeal. Like it's not a fast thing. And typically they don't really need our consulting when we say, hey, if your cost is this, to make this work, you got to lower it to this. Like that, we've already given them the goal that they need to achieve. But then the instance where if they have a lot of control and like, you know what, I can probably do this in the next 3 weeks. Okay, cool. Then we feel good and confident that we can take you on into ongoing relationship and partnership because you communicate and you have the confidence that you can fix these issues in this time frame. Then we feel okay to do that. But if it's where, especially for people, this is like their first business, we'll probably say go fix it and come back, because if they haven't done this before, typically just to fix those things, like it may take them 2, 3, or 4 months to do it. And for then we don't want them to be locked into an agreement with us. And we don't want to even honestly be sending them an invoice if they haven't fixed those issues yet, because we want to help sick businesses get well. And so for us, it's almost like, hey, dude, you're fat and overweight. You need to start walking and then cut your diet down. Come back to me next month so we can actually start your workout plan. But until you stop eating ice cream, like there's no even point in working out. Yeah.
So you can't hit the CrossFit gym because you're going to throw your shoulder
out
of socket or break your arm or whatever. That makes sense. So why not? Okay. The question is the issue then, let's say you wanted to be able to help those people. If you had a stronger focus into a niche and you could create kind of like these blueprints and plans, for instance, how Agency Accelerator helped you, is the problem that the problems are too diverse to be able to create a little side consulting practice or business to be able to walk them through this maze and then into your business?
No, I would not say that at all. I think and we do some consulting for brands. For example, we have a brand right now where they have their stuff figured out, but what they want is they want us to help train and develop their own internal team, right? Because they eventually want to keep everything in-house. But in your example, no, absolutely not. There are blueprints. I think the biggest, as you probably know, working with individuals, you have some individuals, they will follow the blueprint. Some individuals, they will not follow the blueprint. So the reality is, while every business is different, there are going to be nuances that it's not going to be perfectly formulated for everyone. So for example, if I have a t-shirt business, or I sell makeup, or I sell supplements, your blueprint is directionally is going to be the same, but how you go about fulfilling it may be a little different. So for example, you may have to work with different suppliers. You may have to go to different countries. So there's some dynamic nuances that is going to be different business. But no, for the most part, the great thing I like about e-commerce is that it's not complex.
Okay.
It's hard, but the business model is not complex. It can just be complicated at times, but it's not a complex business model. So that's why it's attractive, because it is quite simple. I'm going to get traffic, sell a product, I'm going to convert this many people that visit my website, and I'm going to get them to come back and buy from me again. Like, the model is very simple.
Have you experimented with SaaS and or like service businesses? So say like medical, dentistry, orthodontics, stuff like that.
As a for us building the business, or
yeah, running ads, being involved in that type of, because that's very different than e-commerce.
It is not with our business, Right Hook. I did before Right Hook, because again, I didn't know what I wanted, so I wanted to taste everything to see what do I really like. And I'm not gonna lie, man, I've got some friends in the lead gen agency in the space that they do exceptionally well in lead gen. And lead gen is a very simple business model. That's why it works so well.
Yeah,
I think for us, we just love e-commerce. So one thing as a principle, that once you do find out what you like, niching down, you'll make more money versus serving everyone and all kinds of people. So for us, we work with only e-commerce brands, and then we only work with e-commerce brands over a certain revenue amount. And then we only work with e-commerce brands that meet other criteria. So we can actually, not only do we have more success, we build our entire business around those particular customer segments and customer profile, so that then if you do fit those things, Right Hook is the place you turn to, because like they have the most experience serving this kind of market. So niching down is incredibly important once you find out that thing.
So you're e-commerce on the top end of the funnel, but as you dig deeper and people learn about you, they're like, oh wow, these are the guys for ...
Correct. Yep.
And then that's where word of mouth travels very quickly. And
it makes it easier to
friends.
market too. It makes it easier to market, easier to find people. I mean, even for you, you're not an entertainment YouTube channel. You're not Mr. Beast, right? No, like you serve a very particular, very specific market. And by doing that, you become the go-to guy for that thing.
For sure. Yeah, I was on a call with a friend of mine who's in the exact same audience, but he does PC builds, I do laptops. And because of that, we're kind of carving a small but very interesting audience for brands, because as they want to travel more into this space, we're the guys you talk to. So even though we're not a $1 million+ channel, we still have the ability to create a good business because of being some of the only two guys in the world that do what we do.
And honestly, I think that is a much more attractive business model than being like the gadget guy. You know what I mean? Like, because now you can charge more for your deals. You get very specific people. Probably your affiliate commissions probably also better than other channels because like it's like very specific, and I think that's a beautiful business model.
Well, and also you don't have to be more charismatic or entertaining, or you don't have to rely on your personality as much. You can just make stronger decisions based on systems and processes, which ultimately will last longer than if you have an attractive face or not.
I'd probably say it's very evergreen too, which you probably agree with that, which is awesome.
So where is Ray going? So we talked about how Ray got to where he got. Where is Right Hook Digital going, and what's your vision?
Great. So the Right Hook right now, we are on a journey around lean. So with economic lean. So with economic headwinds, we've really adopted lean methodology, which we got from the Toyota way of how they run their companies and built their companies. And so it's called lean, like lean manufacturing. And so we've really got into that. So for us, we want to be a problem solving agency first that just also happens to do digital marketing.
Interesting.
And so by leaning, what that means is we've been going on a big journey of how can we make just a constantly stronger business model by solving problems, fixing bottlenecks. So that's been a core focus of ours. And then for me personally, what I do is, besides running the agency, there's also a handful of agencies that I coach, which I'll keep doing that because I love to help other agencies as well. Yeah. And then besides that, it's going to be eventually at some point launching a digital product. So one thing I've found is when you put your head down for so many years, build so many things, you kind of take for granted what you know, right? Like,
it's true.
I mean, you think about everything you learned just to grow your YouTube channel, grow your business. Like you take it all for granted, the little things that no one else knows. And so what's really become evident to me is, oh my gosh, like I take for granted that I can hire any role in 30 days with the system I built. Whereas agencies, I'm coming to find out, take some months, like it's not repeatable. Like they would buy that. Or
Absolutely.
same thing with like how we've structured our teams and our pods and our systems. We take it for granted, but for other people that's what they want. And like, they don't even know how to do it, how to conceptualize it. And so launching digital products probably the next year is something that we're really interested and fascinated about, because while we take it for granted, a lot of people, this will solve specific problems that they have.
Yeah. And I also think about, like, I just think about myself, like looking forward, like that's something that I would buy because I want to be ready for it before I'm ready for it. You know, like I want to be planning the hires a year out.
That's good.
Because the problem is, like you said, if you don't have good systems and processes in place, you go to hire and already as soon as you hire, you're 6 months behind. So even if you get that person, you're not even going to be ready for them effectively. So the first person I hired was a video editor because I knew I needed that, and I knew easily how to train that. So actually, I hired somebody who had never edited in their life.
Wow. That means your systems are tight if you can do that.
Well, yeah, I have a very, very specific structure, benchmarks, optimization. So she does everything from I film, pass off the footage, and she just chops, edits, clips, uploads, optimizes, and all I do is a thumbnail from there. So the thing is, like, I was ready for that because I built such a system of how it worked. And she, like, literally, you know, normally, like you said, it's 3 to 4 months before somebody's productive. She was productive in like a week and a half.
That's incredible.
And now she's full time. So like, I just send her stuff and it's just like bang, bang, bang. Like we've put out 160 videos, including shorts. So it's not all main long form per month we're doing now.
I was gonna say your frequency is really increased.
Yeah. So like we're almost at 1,000 videos.
That's awesome.
And it's just insane. But my point is, like, that's the kind of product I would want to know about for more positions in my company. Because I know how to hire for that one because it was such a systematic process. But as you get to other things, like how do I hire for somebody to do outreach and sales, right? Like those are the very weird, sticky, difficult training tasks. What would you say has been the hardest position to hire for in this journey upward?
I mean, it still is those types of high level roles. So I've really changed my opinion on this because so you have two choices. One, can I hire someone who they already have the experience, they already have the systems, and they're as turnkey as possible. So, but you're going to pay more for that role.
Yeah.
So for example,
how do you identify if they have the systems?
So so that's it's in the interviewing. So for example, for us, when I hired, one of the most recent best hires I did was our head of performance in the US. So he leads our US teams for our head of performance. And for him, he had already run an agency. He had been acquired by another agency. It was running their teams doing the exact same thing. He had proven experience of building systems around how to run ad accounts and how to make creative. And so in the vetting process, not only did he have the experience, but he could actually show that he had built those systems. And so for that, it was a very easy turnkey hire to where we didn't have the systems in place to show him or teach him. We were acquiring him for the sole purpose to help us build it. So that's one way.
Very different hire.
Yeah, versus someone where I need them to do this work and they may not possess all the knowledge. That means I have to have the systems for them to follow. That's a very different hire. So really to determine where am I at, what do I need, and what can I afford? Can I afford the turnkey person? Then cool. If
this
I can't,
is great.
Well, then...
A lot of times people, I think, hire for the person to build the system, but they haven't qualified that this person is capable of building a system. Exactly. So it's almost like they're lazily hiring somebody, hoping that they'll do what they should have done.
And can we even get more real?
Yeah.
Because I used to be one of those people. It's because those people either haven't built systems themselves or don't know how. And so they don't know how to vet or ask the right kind of questions to find out that person can.
So you have to be a system builder before you can identify if somebody can build systems.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to, and that point right there, if you're trying to hire like a sales role, you have to ask, can I build a system? So that means you have to do it yourself. You have to kind of master it or be good enough where you just don't suck and you can prove results. Or if you can't, then you need to go and find someone who I've already done it. They have the experience and you can hire them with the expectation they're going to build it because they've done it before. Like those are really the two options that you have. or you hire like an outside agency or consultant that does it. So 3 options.
Yeah, and the problem with outside agency and consultant is how invested are they in your success? That's hard to tell sometimes. I hired a company for a while back, and it just like every time we got on a call, it was all like blue skying, but it was never like, hey, this is what we're actually doing for you today.
There are some out there like that, yeah. So I think no one's going to love your business more than you. No one's going to put more time into it than you. So I'm a huge fan, even for us, like use agencies strategically. It doesn't always make sense forever. Some partnerships with an agency and a brand, it makes sense forever, and keep doing it because like don't kill your golden goose, especially if they grew you.
Yeah.
But we, for example, we like to hire in-house because we want to control and own that talent.
Yeah.
For those reasons, yeah.
Yeah, and so they're more invested as well. I mean, they're in your circle. You mentioned something when you're talking about the lean methodology. You said that you're trying to lean more into consulting. How are you promoting consulting when you're still technically an ad agency? Like, is it more like the one-on-one relationships? Like you meet a business owner on a plane and he's like, man, I'm struggling with this. You're like, well, we do this.
So it's relationships at this point. So even for me on the coaching at other agencies, it's been relationships. People I've helped, they tell other people. And then most recently on the agency side, when it has been consulting, it has been typically people who we become friends with or acquaintances with, and they knew that we have a particular skill set to help. And then on the odd, rare occasions where a brand comes to us and we just find out mutually that, hey, maybe it's not best that we work together as in done for you. Really what you need is like a done with you. And so then you do it, and then we're just like coaching you and consulting along the way for a predefined period. So it just depends. Like different people in different walks of life. For example, I had a brand come to me just last week. She's crushing it. She's on TikTok. She's cracked TikTok. She has someone running ads, but there's a few things she's not happy with. And she told me on the call, she's like, I eventually, because I want to grow a brand, I want to take this in-house. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, then you have 2 choices. Either you keep going until it's the right time for you to hire that team, or the other option is you hire someone until it's the right time, and then you hire, and then either you get training or coaching to help train and coach that team how to function together. So like you have a few different options. And so that's just a great example where some people, certain options may not be the right choice, but you can do like hey, just in the brand that we're going to start working with pretty soon, they're like, hey, we run a great brand. We want to have a well-run team internally that's like an agency that works for our brands. Cool. Well, then that makes sense. Let me just give you our playbooks, give you our systems, teach and train your team how to work together. So it's like a well-run machine. And then for us, like we're happy to do that because we just helped a brand be a very successful brand.
Totally. Have you ever thought about like doing a white label kind of service where you're like kind of white labeling your strategies and they're on a monthly? So like it's like less money in the upfront, but over the time you have them for like years? Or do you like the kind of get them up and running, they're paying you for consulting, and then you just kind of like let them fly free?
So what I personally like is, this is just me personally.
Yeah.
I like working more one-on-one with the brand or the person. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
It's both fulfilling, but then also a lot of people, let me call it like it is, they need the accountability. And in a group setting, you don't have the accountability. But in a one-on-one, you have that accountability of like, hey, we talked about this stuff. You have to do it the next 2 weeks. Get your crap done. And I like that better because I like to work with people that like to move fast and that want to be winners. Whereas a group, it's kind of, it's a little bit demoralizing. We have some people that are crushing it, but they need more one-on-one, but it's just the model's not built that way. And other people, there's kind of like hemming and hawing, and sure, it may be good to get their money, but they're not seeing the success that you want to see for them. And so for me, I get a lot of more results working one-on-one in that scenario because like I can be who I need to be, speak to them who I need to speak to them. And it's very focused on this one people and their one problem.
That makes sense. So with that, do you find yourself wanting to be in communication with their team more, or leading that one person to help them communicate?
I'm okay with either or.
Okay.
It just depends. Like for some of the agencies I work with right now, as this example, and I'll go to a brand, is I work with the founder the most.
Okay.
Other instances where that agency, I may work on a rare occasion, their team member that needs struggle, because a lot of times, sometimes the problem in a brand, in the e-commerce business, is the founder themselves. Like they are their own problem.
Yeah.
Like they're their own obstacle.
Yeah.
And other times it may be an employee who is an obstacle, but that brand owner doesn't have the experience of how to deal with that situation. So they may need help to show them how it can be dealt with. And that's just because as an agency, we've just learned by having such a big team that there's a lot of nuances to dealing with problems and solutions with when you're dealing with people specifically. So yeah, it really depends on the situation, the problem. At this point, again, if you're in the business for helping sick people or sick businesses, there's multifaceted problems where it arise. It may be a people, it may be a system, it may be the business model. And so for you to really help those people, you kind of have to dive into like, what is the real problem or the many problems that are causing this problem?
Absolutely. Well, we're here on time. I don't want to take more than I've been allotted, and I really appreciate it. I would love to do it again because I feel like we literally just scratched the tip of the iceberg. And there's just so much more to a business, for instance, running ads, than just clicking ad live,
It's the easy part, actually. Like if I go back now, I'm like, dude, running ads was the easy part, and getting results is the easy part. It's the business building, the people building, that's the hard part.
Yeah. And that's like what I'm seeing from like this conversation more than anything is like, if you can understand people, communication, and business, you'll know how to run the ads, because that's just the first step. The second step is, how do you make sure that ad is successful once they hit their shopping cart, once they hit their website? Do you have time for one more question?
Please.
Okay. So let's say you're not a website builder. Am I correct? You guys do landing pages, I'm sure.
Correct. Yeah. No websites, just landing pages.
So are you going to predominantly send all of your traffic to your landing pages that you build? Or will you at some point turn over to their main website? How does that play out?
Test. Always test, because there may be instances, and you'll find, maybe even from yours, if you run traffic, is your homepage may convert differently than a product category page or actually a product page, just like a different landing page. So one of our methodologies internally is never stop testing, because our philosophy and belief is that we're always chasing just the next incremental increase in performance somewhere.
Yeah.
Is that creative? Is that a different landing page? And so for us, we're always chasing that next carrot, because if we stop, that means you get complacent. And if you don't, that means you miss upside. So you always stop, keep testing. So for us, what we'll typically do is a brand comes to us, we'll typically start with the product page and collection page. We never send traffic to a homepage. That's just a no-no for us. Okay. And then we start making landing pages and start testing. Okay, does it convert better than a product page? If it doesn't, let's keep testing. And then if the landing page converts better than the product page, okay, cool, let's divert traffic. So it's a matter of continually testing, coming up with hypotheses. Why do we think this is happening? Or how do we think we can increase performance? Let's go test it. And so for us, if we can increase a conversion rate by 5% or 10% somewhere, that's a lot of freaking money for someone.
Yeah.
So that's why it's worth the time investment to come up with all these tests and to test them to find it.
Yeah. I've got so many more things. Ray, thank you so much for your time. I hope we can do this again, and I really hope everybody's enjoyed this episode.
Great. Thanks, Ben.